And there's nothing about new TVs that I understand. And I finally got it hooked up, and you got two choices to get it turned on. It's working. The first one was my cell phone, which messed that up. Second one was, there was a one little over, I used that one. And believe it or not, I got it working. Trouble is, I couldn't turn the volume up, couldn't change channels, couldn't even turn it off. So I knew how to do that. I reached over and flipped the switch and I turned it off. So I haven't got back to it yet. I don't know what in the world they do to these things, but they mess up my mind, believe me. So I really didn't get what I wanted to get done this week. And we'll try and do the best we can. The reason I picked this situation to talk about, it goes back a long time. Back to 17, well, more than that, that's probably about close to 1800. And Sargon II was the king of Assyria, which was Babylon. They had all kinds of names for stuff back then. And the grandson of Sargon II, his father was king prior to that. Now the reason I went back to this, you never hear much talked about, like way back there. That's 1800, but that's just about the beginning of time. That's when Adam, Eve, all of them were involved. But you come forward, that's the only one I can find. I didn't even find, what's it called? Hammurabi, that's his name. And I didn't find his great-grandfather. I tried, that didn't work. So I got to looking as much as I could. Hammurabi was a king for 2 years. And he was a fairly good king. He didn't have much trouble. He was only there for 2 years, but he made 252 laws while he was king. You want him? We got one of them now. We don't need no more. But when you look at, he had a law for everything. I can't begin to even tell you any of the laws, because after he made the laws, he had his idol, the worship he worshiped, was Marduk. Who else worshiped that?
Babylonians, the Philistines, just about everybody that didn't worship God.
Everybody went to Marduk. Now, Hammurabi had, and several others had about 12 idols they worshipped. And that was his religion. And I feel sorry that that's, they had some funny names, I'm sorry, but, all right, there he is. I knew he'd come up here. Hammurabi was the 6th king of the Amorite first dynasty of Babylon. He reigned from approximately 1792 to 1750. He was the first ruler able to successfully govern all of Mesopotamia without revolt following the initial conquest. Hammurabi is the best known for his famous law code, the Code of Hammurabi, which served as the model of others, including the Mosaic law of the Bible. I said, oh, that's interesting. His law was based on the Sumerian law. Code was based partly on Sumerian law, but prescribed its own harsher penalties for some offenses, including death, mutilation for crimes by commoners resulting in bodily injury, amongst other things. So his code was also part of the Moses law. There's several things in that. He was born in 1810 in Babylon, now modern day Iraq. And when you start looking at that, then you come to his father, which was, well, let's see, he had two brothers. Excuse me, no, he had two sons. He did have a brother, but he just, he built what you call a massive statue, monolith of black diorite. It was only 8 feet tall. Lost for centuries in the fall of Babylon in 1595. The pillar was rediscovered in ruins of the Elamite city of Susa in 1901. So Hammurabi was a very, well, I would not say completely good king, but he didn't have a lot of wars, let's put it that way. His dad was something different. But anyhow, his dad was before him, was the king, and he was in a lot of, shall we say, trouble, always in wars. Thing is, when they do something in culture work and so forth, they don't do anything in the direct order. Oh, there's one I was looking for. His father was Sin Mobalit. Sin Mobalit. That's spelled Sin, hash mark, Muballit, who abdicated due to failing health. During his reign, he conquered the cities, states of Larsa, that's Nuna, and Mary. Supposed to be some more. I'm not gonna worry about that. But anyhow, you've got, Babylon was way back there for a long time ago. Maybe back yonder, Mesopotamia, Assyria, all of that was one kingdom. Then you look into, as they come forward, who's the next king after got in a lot of trouble? Sennacherib. Sennacherib was sort of a mean king. You'll find it starts in 2 King. In other words, I'll try and tell you a little bit about it. It's about half a chapter, a whole lot. But Sennacherib was going against the law. You know who Hezekiah was.
Hmm.
What was Hezekiah known best for?
He found the law, they found the laws, and he said, "Oh, wait a minute, we got to go back."
Yeah, the law. Also, there's another thing that he's famous for. That's in another chapter. Jerry, you ought to know that one. As old as you and I are, anyhow.
Basically, he removed pagan shrines and everything else. He smashed all the places, all the high places down.
He was a good king. He really was. A good king. The thing is, Sennacherib wanted Hezekiah to join him. Hezekiah was in Lachish, down in Judah area, and he was always at war doing something. And he sent Rabshakeh, his confidant, up to Hezekiah, and all of the people were outside, and they were talking to the people of Hezekiah, saying, "You ought to give up and come join us because your God's not protecting you. We can give you water and give you food and give you horses," all of these things. And was speaking in a different language. And Hezekiah, or somebody in there told him, said, "Why don't you speak the language we understand?" And so what they were trying to do was disturb them enough that they would actually come and join them. In other words, convince them to join them and be okay. Don't have to worry about anything. You'll have plenty of food and eat, all of that sort of stuff. But in the process, he was back at his home, attacking Lachish. There's another one that, one of the men that was helping was Rabsharis and Rabshakeh, and they were all from Lachish. And they come up, well, what it says, with a great army against Jerusalem to King Hezekiah. And they went up and came to Jerusalem. When they had come up, they went and stood for the aqueduct from the upper pool, which was on the highway in the pool. Well, actually the fuller's field. And then when they had called to the king, Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, Shebna, the scribe, and Joah, the son of Asaph, the recorder came out to them and said, then Rabshakeh said to them, "Say now to Hezekiah, this says the great king of Assyria." He was embellishing the king that he should make the gentleman join him. I'm not sure that I want to join what was going on. So they did everything they could. They even, in fact, a third time they come up and most of the time he boasts against the Lord. He went against whatever the Lord was wanting to do. You trusted him, trust me, I'll take care of you. I'm here. I'm in front of you. So the last time he come up, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth. Now we know what sackcloth is.
Heard that.
And I, believe it or not, growing up on a farm, I come in contact with a whole lot of sackcloth. Sometimes my grandmother would take some of these feed bags and make dresses out of them. She couldn't do it with sackcloth. What happened? So Hammurabi, his dad, and then his grandfather all started the Babylonian Empire. Actually, it was really had already started, because Sennacherib destroyed Babylon. Why did he destroy it? Because they wouldn't obey. They wouldn't do anything. Then he rebuilt, and then he turned capital, which we should be familiar with. What's the capital of Assyria that Jonah went to?
Nineveh.
Nineveh. Nineveh was the capital of Assyria. And that's where Sennacherib went and stayed. He had two sons. The trouble is, he appointed one of his sons to be successor of him. Don't ask me to pronounce her name because it's a twisty tongue and breaking. And it made him that king of Syria, what you call successor. But there was another thing that happened. The other son was jealous. He thought he should be the king. Well, it wasn't the king. So what happened? He took them both off of it. Neither one of them was successful to him. Then guess what happened after that? Sennacherib was murdered by his two sons. One of them eventually became the king. And from there you come down King Nabopolassar. Who was that? King Nabopolassar. He was king before Nebuchadnezzar. That was his father. And so you see, everything from way back here to up to here began to point toward the future of the world. The first king of Babylon was Nebuchadnezzar. What was his statue represent? What did he represent on the big statue that had, I'll tell you what the first part is, you already know. It wasn't the statue he built. Well, let's just start. Babylon was represented as gold. He was a lion. What's the second?
Silver.
Huh?
Medo-Persia.
Right? Which one was the stronger?
Well, Medo-Persia was stronger in army, but gold is more precious than silver.
It was more precious, but there was one stronger in Medo-Persia. It's represented by what?
The bear with the one hand raised.
The bear, and he had 3 ribs in his mouth, and he stood up on one side. Oh, one side was stronger than the other one. Then they come to the third one.
That would be Greece.
Yeah, Greece. The Greece animal is kind of a funny looking animal. What did you look like?
Goat with one horn.
A what?
Goat with one horn.
Not that one. It was a tiger that had 4 heads. And what it represented the 4 heads was the 4 people that divided Greece into 4 kings, 4 rulers. The goat came up later, but then you have a 4th one, which was made of iron, which represented Rome. And so Rome, I call a nondescript beast. Ugly, terrible looking, but he was strong. He crushed everything he come in contact with. And then there's something else appeared at that particular time. It destroyed the statue. You know what it was?
Jesus.
It was a stone, come out of nowhere, crushed Rome, destroyed everything it had was there because it turned into nothing but like ashes. The wind dispersed it, and it disappeared. And the stone became a great mountain. And what did that mountain represent? It represented a very important kingdom that would never be destroyed. It represented Jesus, the kingdom that he'd be ruled over completely and never be destroyed. So if you look at way back when Assyria, Mesopotamia, Babylon, all these towns, these, I reckon you would call them cities if you want to. It was a premonition or a setup of what the Lord was trying to do to show the people that what was going to happen in the future of the world. And of course, after that, there never was another ruler. Because God said there would not be another kingdom being a ruler. Now, there's been, how many people have tried to be rulers of Babylon? Or whatever they wanted them. Like Rome was one. Multitude tried, even Hitler tried. There's other people tried some, but they said they failed, and Russia is trying to do the same thing today. But it will fail. Everybody wants to be complete ruler and control everything that goes on the earth. And God said it won't happen. No time at all. But it wouldn't happen, so it didn't. It hasn't happened. It won't happen until the Lord comes. Oh, come on. So you can see where the Lord had already set up the time when the earth was going to be ruled by his son. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3. Sennacherib was, let's see, king of Assyria in 1722. And he reigned until 705. Sargon, probably in his 60s, led the Syrian army on a campaign against King Gerdi of Tabor in central Anatolia. The campaign was disastrous because of the defeat of the Syrian army. Sargon didn't do any good. So you got Hammurabi's father was the first king. I was one beyond that, but I can't find anything on it. It probably is in here somewhere. Then you come on down and you've got Hammurabi's son was a king. Then you got now King Nebuchadnezzar. You've got, one, two, three, four more after that. And then since that, there's been never been another king. I take that back, there is a king today. Who is the king? Y'all don't know who the king is today? Prince William's father, King of England, the king in Spain. But one thing about it is they're not complete rulers of a kingdom. In other words, they don't have 3 or 4 countries underneath them. They don't rule anything except their own country. So, looking at King Sennacherib, the Syrian king and military leader, he is the one that caused more problems up until that time. And his son caused more problems. They became rulers, and then they killed their dad. There was somebody else in the Bible, I'm sitting here, standing here thinking about it, who was the king. And a left-handed man killed him. Sennacherib died in 681 BC, king of Assyria, 705 to 681, son of Sargon II. In 1701, he put down a Jewish rebellion, laying siege to Jerusalem, but sparing it from destruction. 2 Kings 19:35. He also rebuilt the city of Nineveh and made it his capital. So that's a little bit of the history of what it was. I know that it might be a little boring, but to me it's interesting to see who did what and why they did it. He was Sennacherib was king of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, best known from the Bible and the siege of Jerusalem. He is also the Neo-Assyrian king who destroyed Babylon. So Babylon was destroyed before and then rebuilt by Sennacherib. So looking at all of it, you get the idea that there's 2 ladies that were supposed to be his wives, but I couldn't find them. They wasn't real sure who they were and why. So the question is, all the trouble started way back. Actually, guess who his grandfather, Hammurabi's grandfather was? You remember the Tower of Babel? Who was building the Tower of Babel? Nimrod. That was his grandfather. So now you've got an idea where all the trouble started. And it continued forward. So we got if you take and if you've got a computer and you're literate up, I'm not that literate on the thing, but you go in and punch Sennacherib, you can punch in Hammurabi, King Sargon II, all those kings that I mentioned. You can read exactly how they died, what Sennacherib's definition was, what was his meaning, And what was his personal life like? You can sit and read these things until you're blue in the eyes. Because it's got history after history after history. Sennacherib's army sent to drive invaders out of Babylon and restore Assyrian rule was swiftly defeated by the combined forces of the Elamites, the Chaldeans, and the Armenians. According to the Bible, Sennacherib's army was decimated by Yahweh's angel. The cause of the rapid demise of the army is suggested to be systemic plague. That's what it says. So, in all of this, I tried to put something together that you might get an idea of what the history was of the Babylonian Empire, along with Mesopotamia and Syria and Nineveh. I don't know how many more was involved. You got the Elamites, and you got the Chaldeans, and you got the Armenians. All of these, this says they were decimated by Yahweh's angel. Who was that? Who was Yahweh's angel? Take a guess. God's angel. It could be the fact that it might have been Gabriel. It doesn't say. It just says Yahweh's angel. So, the Lord had a hand in everything that went on, whether we realize it or not. And as you read and as you study, you'll find out things that happened you never thought about. And somebody said this morning, as you read the Bible, you're going to find out more than you thought you knew. It'll be there in front of you. You just got to read it. And sometimes you'll have to go back and read it 2 or 3 times to get it completely understood. All these, it's there for your understanding. Remember the 10 virgins. 5 were foolish and 5 were wouldn't. The 5 who were foolish didn't study. They didn't get enough of the Spirit. So let's remember that God is always a leader. He's always telling us or teaching us where to go and where we're not supposed to go. Here's maybe an answer to what here it is. It's in chapter 19, verse 30, chapter 19, verse 35 and onward, where Yahweh's angel struck 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in a single night, effectively saving Jerusalem from destruction. As you get in this and read, you'll find the word co-pilot. Co-pilot will show you all of these things that I'm telling you. It's a new topic, it'll explain everything. In fact, some of the stuff that they have uncovered is done by, some of it in 2000, some of it a little longer. But they're beginning to uncover all of this history up until now. So in other words, you're always learning and growing. I pray that a little of this I help you to understand. If you have questions over, ask me, and I'll find you the answer. But let me tell you, it's more history than you got time here in the pulpit to tell you. But you turn to, I think you need to go to 2 Kings 18, 17, 18, and onward. Another thing that King Hezekiah was famous for, God did something for him. Extended his life. By how long? 15 years. So he was sick. He was in bad shape. But it was going to die, and God decided, well, he's been praying and working with me, walking with me, and doing various things. So he extended his life. So we'll close with hymn 623.